I shall introduce our guest today, Andy Fossett. Andy is the CEO and one of the co-founders of GMB Fitness. GMB Fitness is well, Andy will tell us about it. It's an incredible company helping people stay fit, flexible, and doing all kinds of silly movements. In fact, I
Very
think
silly.
one of the first times we met was when you were speaking at a conference, and I remember you asked the audience a question. You said, or no, you said to the audience, "Okay, everybody, raise your hands." And so everybody raises their hands like this, and he says, "Yes, okay, but this is how I'm going to raise my hands." And you kind of put your hands behind your body as a demonstration of kind of thinking differently about how to move. So, not only do you think differently about how you move, but you think differently about how to run a business.
And most things, I mean, if you ask my wife and daughter, I think too differently about most aspects of life. So,
Excellent. So we're going to be digging into all of this.
yeah.
So anyway, I thought we could kick off with a fairly obvious question. What has changed with GMB Fitness day-to-day operations, given this coronavirus chaos, which has engulfed us all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. The first obvious answer is very, very little in terms of operations and the way we run the business, the way we market the business, the way we deliver product. All of that stuff has been online and fully remote for, almost 10 years now. So that part has not really changed at all. What we have found is that we do have to make some changes in terms of just giving people more time to process things. We're giving people more time off. We're trying to have, we're trying to take care of people, like on the emotional soul level, and that's always important. But when your life gets kind of the rug ripped out from under you, and when things are going crazy, when you have family that's sick or whatever, then there's a lot more pressure and stress, and also uncertainty. Are we still going to get paid? And we're very lucky that we get to say emphatically yes to that question so far. But we've had to, just basically be a lot more mindful about making sure that people are taking time off, that they don't feel that they have to ask for things that they should be able to just do.
Mm-hmm.
And also that they know that we are taking care of them, and that they can feel some security and certainty around to the degree possible.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, glad to hear that things are pretty much continuing as normal. Let's rewind a bit, though.
Sure.
Perhaps you could explain a little bit about what the company structure is, because obviously there's the fitness instructors, and there's the management team, something like about 20 people. Perhaps you could fill in a few of those details.
Sure. So I have two co-founders, and we're all partners, and our kind of leadership team is me and my chief of staff, Amber, and we have people that are in various stages of kind of managerial team leadership in terms of our customer support team, our development team, and our marketing team. So yeah, the rest of the team is mostly made up of, we've got content writers, copywriters, graphic designers. We have client support people. We have coaches that will actually train our clients, and we have a full-time video editor who has a almost full-time assistant now. Video, if you're doing things on the internet, video is just where everything is going. And we thought it was a huge luxury when we had one full-time video person. But then for about a year and a half, he was always so backed up. We're like, well, I guess we need another one. So
yeah.
Our team really, a lot of it is content creation and just supporting our clients, because we're a B2C company. So we're always going to have a lot of customer support type things, and we're always going to have a lot of questions and dealing with all of those tens of thousands of clients that we work with. So those are, like, headcount wise, the main portion. And then everyone else is just trying to make sure that our products are good and that the company works.
Has there been any changes in how you shoot videos at the moment? Because presumably you can't use gyms now.
Right. Well, so we've been really lucky on that front that we are a home fitness company for the most part. We do have clients that train in gyms, but most of what we teach does not require gym equipment. So uh, we have tended to not need gyms. And since gyms aren't necessary, we don't actually want to show them in our videos too much, right? Because people assume you need the things in the video. So we actually, in early days, we used to take some videos at a gymnastics studio, and people would say, "Oh, where's your gymnastics studio at?" Like, no, we don't have one. We don't teach gymnastics. So we have a small studio in Osaka where one of my partners lives, and it's basically a retail storefront with giant windows, lots of good natural light, clean floor, and blank white walls. And that's where we record most of our videos. So that hasn't had to change. If anything, we've just tried to make some of our sets look a little more homey lately. We threw a sofa and some books in the back of some of the settings, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Proper authentic.
Right.
Workout. Is the Osaka chap, is he the one who's kind of walking into a handstand on the website?
Yeah, that's Ryan. Ryan is our head coach. And so I used to live in Osaka about maybe 15 years ago. And that's where I met him. And we started training together. He had a yoga studio there. And I was helping him try to get some more clients there. And that was the genesis of starting GMB together. So Ryan has been doing this stuff for like 4 decades. He was a child gymnast. He's amazing at all of it, you know? Yeah.
So how do you coordinate your shoots and your production plan? Is this decentralized or centralized? Like, do you come up with a content plan and then have people basically follow through, or do your coaches have some type of autonomy over what and when they want to record and add to their courses?
It's a really, really good question. We keep it pretty centralized for the paid products because we want to make sure that everything is kind of a piece, that it's consistent, that it feels very cohesive. So the last couple of times that we've shot video for product, we've actually sent Ryan and a couple of our other coaches to Atlanta, where our video guy lives. And so we have a place that we rent there. We have a storage place where we keep, props and settings and things. And so if we have very important things to film for product, we plan that out months in advance. We spend a week or 2 weeks there, and we shoot everything with several cameras because, this is our chance to get it, and we have to make sure everything's right. So that is very, very tight and very coordinated. We usually send someone to the shoot that's just a helper, right? That's not in anything, whose job is just like, go get sandwiches and make sure that the Airbnb is set up and everything. Like, event coordinating is a whole different thing. So that is for the product, but for social media, like, Instagram, Facebook, even, you have to be able to be a little faster and a little lighter on your feet. So most of our trainers are pretty good at video, and they can put together something that is good enough for Instagram really, really easily. And then what we'll do is we send a lot of that raw footage to our video editor, who, working with the coaches, will sort of put it together, and with the content team, we'll put it together into a more robust, like a YouTube version. And then we'll have, on top of that, we'll make an article on the website that expands on the YouTube version. So a lot of times it'll go from from really quick one-off Instagram content, and then from there, we'll coordinate that to a YouTube video, because we have a pretty sizable YouTube audience as well. Then from there, we'll build an article around it. Then from there, we might build like an email course with an opt-in and that kind of thing. So we take it one step at a time, and depending on how well the quick, easy versions go, then we decide how detailed we want to get with the rest of it.
That's really interesting. I would have assumed you'd rather do it the other way around, basically creating something that is very defined upfront, and then you create derivatives and share them on Instagram. But you sort of like build it bottom up, so you select some of the off-the-cuff ideas and develop them further if you think they're worth it, so to speak.
Right. We do have some things where we went kind of top down to use that nomenclature, right? And that's worked really well. But what we found is like over 10 years, we've basically built out most of the like keyword content kind of ideas and things. And I mean, there's always more there, right? But in terms of the main pillars of content that we need for what we actually teach and the programs that we're going to create, then most of that has already, it's in place. We just need, to update and improve it. So for a lot of the stuff, we're really just looking at, well, what's interesting to us and what fits our general kind of zeitgeist and direction. And then we take those things that do well and sort of fit the messaging that we want to put out there over the next few months, and we kind of select that way. Yeah, so that's a really good observation. I think we go both ways.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And also related to product, before we get to more of your maybe team setup and what kind of communication tools you're using and stuff, in terms of product, how much has the current situation influenced your product, and how agile have you been in terms of like reacting to, oh, now a lot of people have to stay at home? That has, I mean, there is a connection there with your type of fitness product. So could you double down on that, or how much reaction did you get out of your organization?
Yeah, if anything, we've really just been doubling down on those benefits. So we've been teaching what we do online for quite a while, and a good portion of the team has education backgrounds or coaching backgrounds. So we have a lot of understanding of how to communicate things to people, and we've gotten pretty good at this with a lot of feedback over the years too. So we've got that part down pretty well. The thing that we've really been trying to do when everyone went at home, right? I joke that a friend of mine basically went to every high traffic page on his website and just added the words "at home" to the end of every title. It kind of seems like that. And I mean, he's killing it. He's doing great. But what we have is we've been trying to sort of double down on that angle that's always been there. Yeah. And one, show that everything we have can be done at home. And two, also tell people that we have been teaching people how to do things at home for 10 years, right? Right now, you'll see there's a lot of people that are like, I'll just throw my camera over there and I'll do a workout in front of it and do it live. And that's interesting and exciting, and it feels very immediate. But what you find out after you try to follow along with somebody's Instagram live workout a few times is that it doesn't work very well. And at the end, you may make yourself tired, but you don't actually get better at anything. So we try to fall back on our, basically make this an opportunity to double down on communicating our value proposition, which is that we have a curriculum that's based on actual pedagogy, and that what we do has always been optimized for a single person to be practicing by themselves at home without a coach standing over them and without someone screaming in their ear.
Related to that, someone from the chat asks, in how far has the GMB audience changed in recent months? So have you maybe acquired additional demographics or something like that, people that came that earlier were not so interested maybe?
Demographic changes I have not noticed, actually. We definitely have more than doubled our lead acquisition, but I think that what's happened is that increase in traffic and increase in interest has also still then been funneled through the same filters, right? It's been funneled through the same content assets, funneled through the same ad selection, funneled through the same availability of opportunities to connect with us and to try to use our free material or check out our programs. So the people that are interested in it tend to still be the same kinds of people.
So let me steer the conversation a little bit back towards the team. So you've got a whole range of instructors. Is their job to work with clients individually? Do you actually do live courses? Are they mainly about producing content? What do the instructors do?
It actually varies throughout the year. So right now we do not have any live classes going. And by live, I don't mean live we're live now, I mean, so we like to blend, ideal case, we like to blend asynchronous and synchronous education. What we find is that explaining things to people works best asynchronously, and then we let them practice it. Then we come together and we use that synchronous time for things like accountability and encouragement and checking form and answering questions, right? So we kind of divide it up that way. So our ideal case is where we can have that mix, but right now we don't have any of what we would call a live class going, just because things have been changing so fast that it hasn't really felt like a good use of time to do the build up to a live cohort. So what those trainers generally do though, instead though, we do have a membership forum where a few thousand people post training logs and ask for advice, and we have a nice community, and so they help those people out. 3 of our trainers are also doing client support, just manning the help desk, because what we found is that they can answer questions about things like, what program should I do? Is it okay to do this if I have a wrist injury? They can answer those questions so much more confidently than somebody who hasn't actually used the programs or taught someone through them. So we're using their talents in a lot of different ways aside from just what you would consider coaching. And then they also, they are doing, they're answering Facebook comments and stuff too. So they see these things and they can also then see the trends and help us ideate on new content and things that we want to do to improve our products and that kind of thing too.
So just to clarify, the live work is like an in-person training schedule or something? No,
we very, very rarely do that. Yeah, when I say live, everything I do is mediated through the internet. So when I say live, I mean that we'll have them watching videos and doing things and practicing. And then when we get together live, we'll have like a weekly Zoom call, or maybe, one in Europe, one in American time zones where people can ask questions. And then we'll have forums or an open thread or members only podcast kind of thing that will be going out answering questions and checking in and that kind of thing. So it's still technically asynchronous aside from some very small things, but we like to set like if we have a 4-week program, then maybe each week we'll have a theme and everyone will get kind of onto a rhythm where, say, Sunday is this day, Tuesday we're going to have our first check-in, on Thursday we're going to do a Q&A, and on Friday I want to see everyone's progress kind of thing.
Okay. So it's like kind of like course. You say cohort. It's like a cohort of students. Right. Gotcha.
And how do you generally control or organize your team? What kind of channels are you mostly using? Do you do regular calls? And how do you split up between the production and the coaches? Give us a little bit of a rundown of what who's involved with whom and how complex or simple can you keep it?
Yeah, I would love to try to find ways to keep it simpler. I think what happens when you have about 20 people working together on a handful of projects is that things just get as complicated as you could imagine. Things get lost, things get misplaced. So our system is far from perfect. It's always been a work in progress, but I'll sort of run you through what we're doing now. In terms of communication, we mostly use Basecamp for things. This is a fairly new development. We've tried. I was trying to list things out earlier. We've had 13 different apps that we've used for project management at least over the last 10 years, and most of them have been horrible. And I'll just go on and say I'm not a huge fan of Basecamp either. But so far, the benefit of that is that each kind of little cell or working group can sort of self-manage to a degree, right? And they keep their discussion or their questions or their schedule updates not necessarily hidden, but out of view from other people that don't need to see it. So it does reduce a lot of the clutter, which has been really, really helpful over something like a Slack or a lot of chat rooms or that kind of thing. And so what we try to do is we base things on there's 2 kinds of work in general. There's project work and what we call process work. Project work is, sort of time bound. We have an outcome we're trying to get to, and these are the people working on it, and this is sort of when it's going to be done. Process work is stuff that just has to be done continually, right? Like payroll. Payroll must be done every month. It is not a thing that you don't need to put it on the calendar, really. You don't need to assign a team to it. There's a person who does payroll every month. Our support team logs into the help desk and answers emails every day. We don't have to put that as a to-do item for them. So we've got that sort of balance of things. And the way both of those are managed tends to be obviously completely different, right? So the process work is actually not that hard, because once people are trained, once people know what their role is, they really just need to coordinate amongst themselves. So that can generally be done in kind of like a chat room sort of arrangement. And we have one person in each of these teams. It's kind of like the boss of that team. And I just make sure that between myself and my chief of staff that we know that we're getting reports from them, that we're hearing everything that's going on, and making sure that they have everything they need. For a really good process team that knows their job and knows what they need to do, basically, from my perspective in terms of managing, like my main role is to make sure that they have every resource they need, right? And that their tools work well. So that's what I spend most of my time with on that kind of thing. But then the issues crop up where we have some of our really versatile people that have some process work going and some project work going on, right? And then timelines start to get confused and things lag. For example, right now we really only have one good copywriter, and so his talents are split between writing microcopy for our new program that's about to come out, writing the actual sales messaging for it, writing emails, writing ads. It's a lot, just for one person to try to do. So managing that is where what we try to do is we have a management meeting of me and one of my partners and our chief of staff every week. And really the whole point of that meeting is to take what we've heard from all of the people in the team. Especially we look at the people that are sort of finite in their ability to do all of the things they're necessary for. And we try to look at places where we have bottlenecks in the workflow, and also around communication too. So we try to sort that out every week. We spend about 30 minutes talking about things and just making sure that we are at least aware of and can try to be addressing any bottlenecks, and that again those teams do have the resources they need.
How about documentation? Presumably your processes aren't oral tradition. You kind of note down, step one, click here, step two, blah, blah, blah. What do you use for documentation?
So, man, I have a love-hate relationship with detailed SOPs. I've loved using them for things like content creation and for a process, like every month to go through our top 25 YouTube videos and make sure that the titles and tags are optimized and things like that, right? They're great for that. But what happens is that over time, we only have so many people that are actually capable of writing the new one. And unless those people are involved in doing the task, they don't see the changes to the tools. And this is what's happened to us a few times, is that people stop using the SOP and then they don't tell you that they've stopped using the SOP because it doesn't match what's actually possible. And then, 6 months later, you realize, wait, why have we not posted any new podcasts? Oh, I've been uploading them. Right. But no one can see them, because part of the tool changed and that wasn't in the thing. So we do have these things. We used to keep them all in Quip. Right now, we're trying to move the most important ones and update them into Basecamp, since that's where we're doing things. And it does make it pretty easy to copy a template. For example, if you have like a new article template, you can copy that, change the title, and go with it. But then we also have, for our podcast production, we actually use Trello in much the same manner. But that's the only thing we use Trello for anymore, because most of the team hated it. And we couldn't get them to use it. So we're probably going to be moving everything else off of that. So yeah, written processes, I love the idea of, but what I found is that with as many moving parts as we have, and as quickly, since we're very technology based and third-party platform based on so many things, when those things do inevitably change, it can throw a huge monkey wrench in things.
It's quite a mammoth task, maintaining a legacy of documentation. And as you say, with kind of moving parts, tools changing, it's I like the fact that you also have trouble with people going off script a bit and not telling you. That's a slight Japan related anecdote here. The Japanese people in our company tend to be much better at sticking to the rules, and the non-Japanese tend to be better at improvising. And improvising is okay as long as things are updated and everybody knows. Otherwise, quickly things start falling apart.
Right. Yeah. We also have a similar thing where it's different personality types on our team too. Some people, when they run up against a wall, they're like, "Ah!" And some people are like, "I'm just going to climb this thing," Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to throw in a comment regarding the documentation as well, which I'm in the TightOps framework, in the team communication collaboration framework that I've been developing. There is in the most fundamental sense, there is it says you should have good documentation. But I'm still trying to develop a full documentation module. Like, how would you actually chip away at that? How do you eat the elephant? Like, what are the steps? And there are so many ways of doing it. One thing I find quite interesting, since we're all a little bit technical here on the call, I think that's worth throwing in is documentation should be less of this is how you do things or this is how it is. It should feel more dynamic to the entire team. So it should be a process of actually knowledge development as a group, right? So the trouble here is that a lot of these tools, like if you do your documentation in Google Docs or in Quip or in some other Wikipedia wiki kind of style, you can update things, and maybe you can even notify people about updates. But what would really be cool is if it would be people would be able to treat it like code. Like we would want to have a GitHub for knowledge. Your documentation would be, there's a documentation, and if you want to change things around, or for example, let's say you log into a tool and they change their UI, you could just file an issue with the documentation and say, this is no longer up to date. That would at least put a flag there if you don't have the 3 hours to update the entire thing. And then people could do like pull requests. And I don't want to get into the entire repository language, but that would be good. Then you could see what changed. You would have a versioning of your documentation, but it's super technical. And most people who are used to Office applications mainly would not really get doing all of that stuff and writing commit messages in GitHub. But I'm just saying, like, there's still a tension between the two, and developers are good at that kind of group knowledge management.
An asset, right?
Yeah,
if you make it the team's job to maintain the veracity of that asset, then if they can, right?
Yeah,
that's fantastic. On that note, like I'd love to, if you don't mind me sharing my screen, I want to show you. I'm huge into educating my team. So this is how I spend like about a full day a week. Is I work on just embarrassingly terrible keynotes for my team. So let me see if I can show you guys.
You're saying that's your teaching device?
Yeah. So for example, I could have made an SOP for answering a customer support ticket, but I knew that at the time I put this together a few months ago that we were about to be moving from Intercom to Help Scout. So that would have been a completely wasted effort. But we did have about 5 different people that aren't on the support team, but because of QA and some other things, we're going to be starting to use our help desk software more. So I wanted to think, okay, what's actually important in terms of training them? Is it that they know how the tool works? Well, the tool has a knowledge base. So what I want them to really be confident in is how they can talk like somebody who works at GMB and really communicate well. So I make these things up, right? I made these slides. I talked about, how we help people, and how we're ultimately not special. I have a very kind of sick sense of humor. So this goes into my communication with my team as well. This is probably incredibly inappropriate, but this is an example of, waiting for someone to ask you a question and then snapping and being like, this customer is completely crazy. Or somebody who goes on and sends out his manifesto and says, this is how I'm going to lead the conversation, right? So I know it's horrible, but this is the way I communicate with my team, right? Lots of Bruce Lee references, and we show charts like based on classic copywriting principles. I do horrible memes of myself, and this is like my love language, right? The golden rule of customer service: we bend over backwards for our great clients, we bend over forwards for nobody. So this is what I spend a lot of my time on, is this kind of thing. And I communicate with my team in this way. Like, we could have SOPs for every little thing, but I'm really interested in how can I teach them the principles of how I want them to communicate in this setting? How can I teach them what's actually important, like decision making, right? How can I teach them, how we go about really solving a problem? And what I've found so far is that when I focus on those things, like we end up with fewer people actually getting stuck when the tool doesn't work, or they'll actually say things like, yeah, I'm trying to do it the way we're supposed to, but this thing won't let me do this, and it's driving me nuts. So how do I figure this out? And that's really been helpful for us. I mean, I make these things all the time. Every Wednesday, I do this horrible hump day one that's 3 minutes long. But it's just to get everyone up to date on a couple of things, right? And I think like at least 90% of the people, so that's like all but 2 people. So probably it's me that doesn't watch it, right? So everyone's watching them. And they like these things. Every month at the start of the month, I do a monthly state of the company. It's like a 15-minute video based on a keynote thing. And I go through all of our numbers, wins, losses, things we can learn from the previous month, that kind of thing. And I find that really, like, I'm not really an operator. I'm not a good manager. I'm not very great at process. But what I try to be focused on is the vision and getting people really where they understand where we're going and understand what's important to the company. And if I can spend a little bit of time focusing on those things, in a remote company, your options are you can micromanage the hell out of everything, or you can really hope people are going to do most of it on their own, right? I think there's a lot of things in between there, but it's like a barbell situation, right? Very thin in the middle and very wide at the ends. And so I know that not everyone on our team thrives under those circumstances, but I know that it's the only way that I can really communicate a lot of the things that I think are important. So I spend a ton of time on education, just maybe not in the classic SOP sense.
I love the fact that you've created a job for yourself where you just get to make dank memes all day.
I'm not the master. I do not get to spend my time making cat gifs all day like you do, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
It's part-time for me too.
Maybe we should bring out a book, The Visual Language of CEOs. Like with Chris, it's all laser cats and Doge.
The laser cat guide to being a CEO.
Yeah.
I think there's a market for it.
The laser cat management method.
Yes. Yeah. So I just base everything on like Bruce Lee quotes, and basically my entire team has memorized all of the lyrics to the Humpty Hump. It's the little things.
Yes.
Has this kind of percolated down? Do other people, when they're making keynotes, do they have Bruce Lee captions as well?
Everyone kind of picks their own flavors, but yeah, it does filter down into the daily conversations. I mean, if you see our chats, and I think any company that's a tight-knit group of people for any length of time, they sort of develop an internal language. And none of us say thank you anymore. We all say TY, PYT, BBQ, right? It's, we just throw as many acronyms. It doesn't even matter. Who knows what it means anymore? Like, this has been developing for years now, right?
Okay.
But that's just kind of the way that works. So it does get picked up, which is fun.
Nice. It sounds like you've got a really, really good company culture there.
Most of the time. I mean, there's definitely the dark side and the weak side, and but we do have we do filter for people that are pretty creative and have a good amount of irreverence towards the things that don't really make a difference, so that we can focus our seriosity on the things that do. That's kind of like one of my core tenets that's really been key for the company.
So that kind of riffing off that sort of company culture and dank meme humor stuff, what else are you doing to kind of maintain your kind of your team spirits, and how do you make sure people are okay? What's the kind of water cooler in the remote office in GMB Fitness? Can you talk a bit about those things?
Sure. I mean, in terms of tools, I mean, we have the chats that go on in the base camp, and we do have like the monthly sort of bigger video, and I do a weekly shorter video in the middle. Every Monday, I am not on these for two reasons. One, because I'm the odd man out time zone wise, but also because we found that if I'm there, people aren't quite as free to say things. So we have sort of like a 15-minute semi-optional all hands kinds of thing, but it's not really based on a lot of status update. It's a very social status update. It's a kind of like, here's what's going on with me, and here's what I'm going to be focused on this week, and just make sure everybody goes into the week feeling like they have their feet firmly planted under them. And we also use 15.5. We basically, what that does is at the end of the week, everyone kind of checks off if they accomplish their goals and goes on and sets down what they most need to focus on for the next week. And that is mostly used between the managers and individuals to sort of set the agenda for their one-on-one meetings. And so meeting wise, we really only have that kind of like social status meeting and the one-on-one meetings. Plus we have, some teams might have periodic meetings on other things, but we don't try to lean on meetings too much. But those things I think have helped, and the reliance on certain tools waxes and wanes, but lately that's kind of the mix that we have. That Monday one I think has been really helpful for people, especially in these times. I hate saying that phrase now, but it gives people a chance to really just say what's up, which is important, and to say if they need a day off, or what they need help with, or that kind of thing, and in an environment that everyone's there to be able to listen and help them. Because I mean, in the best of times, you're always going to have things come up where you do need a little bit of help, or where something didn't go the way you expected it to. But especially now, like I said at the beginning, just us being able to sort of keep tabs on people's emotional state and things. People aren't going to write in their weekly report that they're really worried about their grandma in Tampa. Some people will, but most people won't. But if you have a short meeting and you see everyone's faces on the Zooms, you can tell who's a little more tense and tight-lipped than usual, and then maybe you can send them a message later on. So that gives us a better chance to sort of check in with people. It's masquerading as a status meeting, but we're really trying to look more deeply into how everyone's doing, and make sure that the people who need individual help get that. I think that's really our biggest thing right now.
It's great to hear. Chris, what do you have?
Yeah.
We have one more question from the chat that maybe we want to throw in, and what else do you have?
Well, let's ask the question from the chat. Seems like a good time to see what's.
Let the people be heard.
Yeah. So Daniel Turners, could you talk a bit about how GMP thinks about their suite of products, if you don't mind sharing? What the relation of one-off versus subscription revenue is? I'm a GMB customer since 2015.
Oh, thank you.
but haven't used Alpha Posse yet. The first time I looked on the team page, I remember being really surprised that GMB was a lot bigger than I expected, and I thought that must be pretty hard to do with the main model being one-off transactions. So
Yeah. It's really interesting. Right now, recurring revenue is so hot. It's like Hansel, right? Everybody wants a piece of that sweet, sweet SaaS pie. I really am not interested in going full subscription. And I say that having watched some of my competitors and friends in similar businesses try to go subscription. And I know that when you go from a one-off model to a subscription model, for us, I've done the math, and it would probably take us, like 12 to 18 months to get back to our current level of revenues.
Oh, wow.
Looking at our current lifetime value, estimated attrition, the amount we'd actually be able to charge for a subscription service, et cetera, we'd have to make bigger changes. So I say 12 to 18 months, we would get there faster. And the reason is we would have to make bigger changes structurally to the company and the product and the way we market than just the product. It's not just a matter of changing the pricing model. And this is what I think a lot of people they miss when you talk about recurring revenue versus one-off and things. We sell mostly one-off products, but we sell them, I'll go on and say, exceptionally well. We do them in a way that, most of our programs, so we've had a lot of programs over the years, and we've added and removed them and changed them. So it hasn't always been a neat little curriculum, but we're moving closer and closer to that all the time. So we sell our programs in a way where maybe you're just trying to get into everything, or maybe you just want one thing. But regardless, there's a good chance that you're going to want something else that's a complement to that. So we don't sell programs like a lot of fitness companies might, where you've got an abs workout, and now you've got a biceps workout, and now you've got a leg workout, and each one of them is an hour. And so there's no way that you can do 3 hours of training to get your whole body right. We try to make everything complementary, or building like a curriculum cumulatively, one of those two things. And we try to be really clear on where each product fits together in that sort of like whole curriculum of programs. So we're able to, I can say that our average client buys 1.7 programs for us, and that the average lifetime value is more than 2.25 times what the average product price is in general. So we do have a healthy number of upsells, upgrades, bundles, cross-sells, things like that. And it's mostly just because we don't look at it as every product has to solve all things that every person is going to need, right? We try to make them very clear about what they actually do. So subscription revenue is very, very low for us. I actually, I don't want subscription revenue to be a main part of our business, because what that means is you have to continually be either creating new content for the subscription, or you have to be hiring and training and growing staff to be able to service that subscription, right? You're either making content or you're adding a service when you have a subscription kind of model, right? And I don't want to be on either of those treadmills. What I've found is that there are, people ask, why don't we translate our products into other languages? There's a lot of people that speak English, and most of those people have bodies. So I don't see us running out of potential clients anytime soon. And what we found is that, the magic of advertising and content marketing and that sort of thing, we have not come even close to scratching the bottom of the barrel of attracting new clients to us. So I don't know if that answered the specific part of the question, but maybe it's kind of around all of those things.
Yeah, I think also looking at this from a consumer perspective, when I remember a couple of years ago, I, maybe everyone had the thought like, oh my God, everything is going to be a subscription now. I'm like, these are just gonna, yeah. And then all the software turned from you can buy a software license to you have to renew your subscriptions. And I get it. I also get it for the creators because I'm also playing on that side as well. But from I think there is also a philosophical point to be made from the customer's perspective, where you just want to buy something or you just want to check out something and you want to take your own time. You buy a training program, maybe it takes you just a month, and you're like, wow, I need more of that. Or maybe you stretch that out over 3 or 6 months, and then you think, I want to get something else, and you can keep it, right? I mean, it's like, yeah. And from your perspective, you build assets. You're not in this treadmill kind of thing. I understand that. It's
I think it's a pendulum, right? And it's been swinging towards subscription for so long, and we do have people saying, "Oh, I'd love this if it was $25 a month." Well, of course, because you'd spend $25 and then cancel it. Yeah, it sounds great, probably, but you won't get anything out of it. It's a low barrier to entry, but it's got its weaknesses, and I think that, like you said, people's subscriptions are piling up. Right. And so right now, a lot of people's jobs are uncertain. Income is uncertain. What's the easiest thing to do? Start canceling subscriptions. Well, I don't want my business to be based on that. So the pendulum is probably swinging the other way, or will be soon in a lot of respects. I think people are probably going to come back to wanting ownership, wanting pay one time and know that the thing you bought is still going to be working for you. And yes, it costs us money to support those products years after we've made them sometimes. But the thing is we're still able to fund that by growing that. And a lot of our clients provide, fantastic word of mouth. Some of our clients have brought in, dozens, multiple dozens of referrals. So keeping our clients happy and providing good service and a product that they can rely on and know is going to be there for them is something that I think has been a net positive for us too. Yeah, if you want to get into philosophy of things and how, different kinds of products and how it fits with the growth model and everything, I think there's a lot to both sides of that, but I don't feel like we've really missed out on anything by not following the subscription model. The subscription is really just kind of like, I want to have a community aspect, and to do it well, you have to charge for it.
I think the main thing is a true subscription service is a bit like a utility. It's just something that you will be constantly using, and it's you kind of not every product can fit that model well, and Silicon Valley has probably created some Frankenstein subscriptions. I remember that Juicero thing where you
the Juicero. Yes,
that was a subscription service, I think.
Yeah.
So, anyone else got any more questions? Maybe we wrap up fairly soon.
From the chat wants to throw something in. I'm also wondering, Andy, to look a little bit at the other side, so that we're not just singing the praise for remote work. What have you found to be limitations that you'd like to remove or have removed to running a distributed company? Like, what's the biggest drawback for you?
Well, I mean, there's billions, right? I mean, I am really lucky that even though we're remote, one of my partners is still only a 3-hour Shink ride away. So a lot of times I can hop on the train, be down in Osaka like this afternoon, and we can work on stuff if we really need to. If we have something that we really need to make, or if we have something that we'll just be able to do better together, that's great. But I think there are things where you get a lot of energy by being in the same room. And I don't necessarily mean just like, psychic energy. I mean, things are faster, right? The immediacy. And especially since we teach a physical discipline, a lot of the things in terms of, ideas and figuring out the best way to teach a thing, not just coming up with ideas, but how should we teach this? What is most important in the way we explain this movement, or how this movement flows into this movement, right? Those things can be done so much more easily in a live environment. So we've had to create, excuses to get live. We have seminars where we'll, show up in a city and charge people a few $100s for a couple of days of training on the weekend, right? We get 20, 30, 40 people to some of these things. And what that does is that allows us to fly in part of our team so that we can train together and do some things, right? So the weaknesses are really just, there's times when what we do benefits strongly from physical proximity. And also just the things everyone knows, right? Every piece of sensory mediation in our communication takes something away from the depth and richness that we're able to get across, right? You're listening to my voice now through this amazing Zoom technology, but the thing is you're hearing nothing under 80 hertz and nothing over 12 kilohertz. It's very compressed, and you're hearing this probably in mono. That's not a huge deal, but the thing is like our brains have evolved over a long time to pick up very, very small things, right? You can see my eyes in this little square on your screen, but you can't really tell what they're doing. You can't tell what I'm looking at. And it doesn't matter anyway, because I'm looking at Nico up here and Chris down here, and sometimes I'm looking at me here because I'm really self-centered, but my camera's here. And we don't get the same input. We don't get the same richness of voice, of body language. And everyone says, oh, writing is so important in remote work. How many good writers have you ever met?
Yeah,
I went to school for writing. I studied under the poet laureate of the state of Georgia. I'm a horrible writer. It doesn't make me good at communicating in written format, especially when everyone is communicating with different styles and different idiom and things like that. And in a group of 20 people, you don't have an agreed on language for how you explain things sometimes. So, I mean, that's the weakness. We try to get around it by meeting up when we can. We rented out this great mansion in Vegas that had I think there were 4 dolphin fountains. Not actual dolphin, dolphin sculptures spitting into the fountain. Lots of stucco everywhere. It was pink. It was gorgeous. And you get the whole team together in a place like that and you're just going to have fun, right? Mm-hmm. And what we find is that when we do get together, since it's such a different thing from our normal experience, it's super productive because it's just like that barbell thing again, right? We go from here to over here. And we try to make the most of that experience while we can.
Yeah, the team meetups or team retreats, as we like to call them, they're really the highlight of the year.
Oh yeah.
And I've been thinking about this, and we got some good advice from Jimmy about this. The full team meetup is a great thing, but it's a really kind of it's a pretty big thing to organize when you've got 20 plus people.
And challenging. Yeah.
So Jimmy was saying, well, what they tend to do is a lot more ad hoc, smaller groups. So they're much more mobile, I think, the Minal team. They tend to kind of travel more. So it's like, okay, Jimmy and Doug are here, so they meet up with whoever's in Taiwan. They're in Europe now. So I like the idea of, in addition to that full rent a mansion in Vegas with the dolphin fountain full meetup, I like the idea of having kind of small little micro meetups.
Yeah.
As well.
We do that a little bit. A good part of our team is based in the Pacific Northwest, between Portland and Seattle and Vancouver. So they're able to get together a little more frequently. We did try last year. We tried regional meetups with an East Coast, a West Coast, and a European one. And that had some strengths, but it didn't have the cohesiveness. And we didn't get, productivity-wise, I'd say that was maybe our least successful attempt.
Right.
But yeah, small pockets, especially for people that are working on similar things, I think can be really, really good.
Yeah, we have, we do a dev team meetup. That's kind of a specific kind of group of people that work together. That worked really well.
Yeah. You throw some snacks and a couple of problems at some people and put them in a room and magical things happen.
We did it in Budapest one year and Lisbon another year. That was awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I think I would like to try Lisbon if we can ever get into air again. That would be a place to go.
We can but dream.
Right.
All right. So really good stuff. Still much to follow up on. Maybe we can continue this some other time. And yeah, it was really a pleasure. So many good ideas. and everything is now well documented. I'm gonna do some video editing and share this. This is good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. I mean, this has been, a big part of my life for the last 10 years is how do I make this damn thing work? So it gets a lot of, my 3 remaining brain cells bump up against this problem a lot. So I'm always happy to share the things that have and haven't worked.
we appreciate it. So thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks everyone for attending live, and everyone have fun with this in the future. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.